Welcome to Code and Power Road. In our last video, we looked at how to connect our API to a SQL Server database. If you haven't watched that, click on the video on top. In the next video, we're going to proceed to look at data transfer objects. Now, how do they fall into the whole API spectrum? That could be a question. All right. Number one rule is, as far as data is concerned, never expose your database schema to your API client. Okay, so people who are going to consume your API are called clients. You don't want these people to have access to how your database is designed. You want to keep that abstracted. All right, think of a scenario whereby you have a user management database, and if a client queries your API to get the users, and that table has a field called password, then trust me, you're going to show all the passwords if they do a get or request. All right, so that's why we need data transfer objects. All right, all they do is they're just classes that allow us to give the client just enough information that they need. All right, so your data could be in a format that you only understand. Okay, so for instance, the user wants a full name, right? But in your database, you've got first name and last name. You could just create a data transfer object that just appends this two and just gives out the full name as Jane Doe, for instance, instead of having two columns. So the format that you have in your database might always be what the user wants. So you want to put it in a way that it suits the user. All right, so we don't want to couple our internal implementation with the contract we give a client. So a client expects ABC. All right, and this also helps. Think of a scenario whereby you change your schema. It means your API breaks, because those clients, what they expect is what they'll get. But if you define your data transfer objects, it doesn't matter if you change your schema, as long as you are obeying to the contract which you've given to the API client. All right, so how do we implement them? Okay, so look at this diagram. This is your client, that's your API client. All right, as it is, this is our prescription which we are returning. Okay, so somebody can get our prescriptions, they can get one prescription. This is what we're returning, but this prescription is our internal model, and we don't want the user to have that. Okay, for instance, one of the things in a prescription is ID, which auto increments. So you don't want the user to send you the ID, because the API, the database handles that at database level. All right, so you want to give the user enough information just for them to make a request. So what we'll do is we're going to come up with a prescription database data transfer object, right? Which we're going to map with our actual prescription to our DTO. All right, so the user won't access the DTO. That's what we're doing today. So we want to decouple the interface further. Okay, we don't want our interface to give back the prescription domain model or receive the prescription domain model. Rather, we want them to use the DTO. All right, that's what we're gonna do. So let's have a plan, as usual, of how we're going to tackle this. So first of all, we're going to create the DTO class. Okay, then once we do that, we have to map the DTO to our domain model. Now you could do it two ways. The first one would be manual, whereby you would create a class and then new it up and have to assign all the objects from the DTO. That would be tedious, but we're lucky there's a tool called AutoMapper which maps these things. Okay, and we'll see it's shortly in code. For us to use AutoMapper, we have to use a package because it's not part of the .NET framework core system, so we have to use that package. Then once we do that, since our application is going to depend on the AutoMapper, then we have to let the dependency injection container know that register this AutoMapper, so that whenever we inject it, wherever we do, we just have to inject and not re-register there. Then we're going to configure the AutoMapper. All right, so our first step is to create a folder called DTO. So like click on your project, select add new folder, call it DTO. And our next step is to create the actual DTO used to read or to get, right? So click on the DTO, right click on the DTO, select add, then class, then call the class prescription read DTO. All right, so once we create that class, we now have to decide what we want the user to see, our client. Okay, then in our case, we're going to open the prescription model, which is the actual data representation. We've got ID, the name, amount, frequency. So more or less, I think they can see all of this. It's fine. I know you might be asking, then why do we need that if it's the same? Well, like I said, there's need to decouple this and that, because there will always be changes to requirements, right? Now we don't need data annotations. These ones make sense as far as those migrations are concerned, to make a database. All right, so we're not going to have those ones. Okay, all right, let's just make it look cleaner. Okay, so we're saying if somebody wants to get a prescription or get a prescription, this is information we want them to see. All right, now our schema can change our database, but this will be what we're going to show, because it's a contract we make with our client. Okay, from there we have to set up AutoMapper itself. All right, so you're going to click again on the project, then go to manage NuGet packages. Like I said, this is an external dependency. It's not part of the Microsoft Core 6 framework, so you have to get it outside. We hope that they might add it the way they did with Swagger. So you're going to, there's browse there, you're going to type AutoMapper and then search. There is AutoMapper there, but you want this one with extensions to dependency injection, because once you install that, it already depends on AutoMapper here. Okay, so you need that one and that one, so you can just choose one, then it will install the dependency, and then just click install. It's gonna go ahead and install that AutoMapper. All right, once we install the AutoMapper, our next step is to let our dependency injection container understand that we are registering AutoMapper and it will be used in our project. Okay, fair enough. So anything to do with our DI container, that goes in a program.cs class. All right, okay, so here we are. We can actually put a comment there, registering AutoMapper. And for those who might want this code, it's going to be available on the GitHub. Check the description. So again, we're going to get our builder. For those who don't know, it comes from here, because we've set up our hosts and whatnot. So we're going to get our builder, and we want to register services dot, we want to add AutoMapper. Okay, and it takes your current domain assembly. So we're going to use what we call reflections in C#. All right, if you don't know about that, it's worth checking it out, but it's not really a big deal as far as this is concerned. If you can just know that we're using the reflection. So your app domain, you want to get your current domain and get your current assembly. So it needs to know which assembly it is in. So get assemblies. All right, so we have told our dependency injection container that we are going to use AutoMapper in application, and where there's the need to inject this dependency in our code, which we'll do shortly, we don't have to register it again. All we'll do is just inject it. Okay, fair enough. Now we need to have a part where we're going to link our DTO and our domain model, right? It has to be somewhere where we do the actual mapping. So I want you to create another folder. You can call it profiles. Call it profiles. And profiles is what people mostly use, but it can be any name. You can call it mappings as long as it makes sense to your context. Okay. So profiles. Then I want you to create a profile. So it will be a prescription read DTO profile. So add a class. Call it a prescription read DTO. So prescription read DTO profile. Looks like a wrong name. All right. Now we want to inherit from the profile because the profile is now a class in AutoMapper that gives us the features we need to do the mapping, right? So we have to inherit from profile. All right. And we need to using so control dot. Make sure you pull out AutoMapper from there. You know that some things use the wrong profile, and then it happens that it doesn't work as expected. So using AutoMapper. The next thing is to have a constructor. So you're going to call. So we do the CTO, then tab. It gives us the constructor. Now I want you to remember one thing. Now here we want to map our model and our DTO. So people call it source to destination. Remember this, it will save you from troubles of debugging. All right. So how do we map those two? Okay, we're going to say create map. Okay, so it will take your source. In our case, what's our source? That's our model. It's what? The prescription class. Right, it's prescription, and you have to pretty much bring it in because it's not using model, right? So our source is prescription. Our destination in our case is the prescription read DTO. That's our source. And I want you to say using the DTO. Fine. So what are we doing here? We have mapped these two. So AutoMapper will go check the prescription. It will see, okay, there's ID, all right? There's special name. Okay. Then it also check the DTO. It will see, these things have similar names, all right? Then it will just map them. There's no need for you to create a new object. You just map it. Now, obviously, this is a simple use case where it's just similar. And then if prescription had a lot of properties and the DTO had list, it would just map the list. The others would be nows by default. So this is a simple use case. There will be times where you want to, let's say, retain a full name, but your model has first name and last name. You just extend it over here. But this should suffice for now, just to show you the idea of mapping. All right. Now, this is my favorite part. We have to inject the AutoMapper, right? Okay. So we have in a program class we have told the DI container that we're gonna use our AutoMapper. Now it's just injecting, and we can inject it anywhere in our code, right? In our case, we're going to inject it. If you can guess that, make sure you like. We're going to inject it to the controller, okay? Because the controller is where we interface with our clients, right? So it's there where we have to put it so that the clients are going to see that, right? So first things first, we're going to create an instance of the IMapper, right? So quite private, read only. Now IMapper also has an interface. That's how nice it is, okay? It doesn't have a class, so it has an interface. So it also adheres to this approach of interfaces instead of classes. So it means it's even easier. So call it IMapper. I'm gonna put mapper, right? Once you do that, remember we're using constructor dependency injection. Give the constructor that one as well, okay? So you're gonna come here, add another parameter to the constructor, okay, but we're going to call it mapper without underscore. All right, then you come down here, and what are we doing? We're just saying make sure mapper is equal to mapper. Right, now we have injected it. Now we've got access to the mapper. We haven't even registered it here because we do it in one place, which is the dependency injection mapper. Now, something that I want to do here. In the next video, we're going to look at the remaining CRUD operation. So I just want us to also set up for that, just to be ready. We want, when we say get, we want to give it explicitly the list we want it to get. All right. In our case, we want it to give us the prescription read DTO, if I can spell that right. Okay, so I want to explicitly tell it what it will expect. Okay, so this is what it will return. Okay, and again, as you can see, we are returning the read DTO, not necessarily the data module. So we have abstracted. All right, nice. Let's proceed. Now, on our get all prescription here, you see that get all here returns an object called prescription, but we don't want that. We want to return our DTO. So what do? This is where our mapper here comes handy. All right. So we're going to say fine. This is our prescriptions. It's a list of prescription. All right, but we need a list of prescription read DTOs. Then we're going to create var. You can call this prescription DTO is equal to. Now, if you call that mapper, there is a function called map. So this is where the actual mapping is going to happen. All right. Now, this takes source and destination type. Okay. All right. So what's your source in this case? Your source in this case will be that. Okay. It's kind of the opposite with the profile. Okay. So you're going to give it your source, but I want you to make sure that you're mapping, giving a generic. Okay. Then you're going to give it the object source, which is prescriptions there. Okay, and we've mapped, and if you might recognize this, it has mapped even the list. Okay, it's seen, okay, a list of this. Okay, let's just map it, and instead of you returning the prescriptions, you're going to return the prescription DTO. And let's try to run it. I'm going to press Ctrl F5. So our Swagger loads, and if you look at the word schema there, it's showing you that you are getting the prescription read DTO, meaning this is not part of our schema. Nice. So let's try to get a prescription, or prescriptions rather. So let's execute. What do we get? Oops, we get a 500 error undocumented. It's saying what? AutoMapper missing type map configurations or unsupported mapping. Yes guys, these things happen in coding, so there's something I've done wrong. Should be the AutoMapper. So what could it be? I have an idea where that could happen. So it should be this line. We've got that. And we've got, I think I've seen it. This is a list, but on our mappings we are mapping an object, hence I think that could be our culprit. So if we brought a list here, numerable, if this was something like this, I'm guessing that error should be gone. Okay, so I could have ignored this and fixed it behind the scenes, but it's good to see these things, they happen. Alright, so let's Ctrl F5 one more time. Okay, here we are. Let's try it one more time. So get, then try it out, execute. Let's see what we get. And there we are. There goes our DTO. So we have successfully implemented our DTO. So if you've stayed again this long, thank you very much. This thing is essential. You're going to see the power of DTOs as we proceed to build the post, the get, the update. You're going to see that power. So tune in for the next video. And if this gives you any value, please like, comment, subscribe, and share. These things keep us going as a channel, and feedback is important. So thank you very much, and do have a lovely day.